Boom. Three, two, one. Welcome to Content Inspire. I'm your host, Andrew Calvino, and today I have the legend and badass Prady Tewarie here with me. And he absolutely kills it within the supplement industry and various other markets. So certainly introduce yourself to the listeners, my man.
Andrew, well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, man. I really mean that. I always think it's such a great gift when you get to share your story, not just for the sake of sharing it, for like, hey, like this is what I did in my life. But as we were talking off air, the goal is like, okay, I listened to Predy's story. I listened to the conversation you had with Andrew, and that one thing he said, I can take notes on that and I can apply it like literally tomorrow or the day after or whatever, and I can really like it helped unlock something in my or in my life to get me to the level. So that's why when people have done that for me, man, that's been like the greatest thing they could give me in my life, whether it's my teachers or parents or whatever. So having a platform, even if it's like, I always tell people it doesn't matter if you're one listener, 1,000 listeners, you're a big podcast like yourself. I always think of it's a way for me to provide us that, back. So I feel super fortunate to be here, man, and I'm happy that we can make this happen. And as far as the intro, I'll there's so many things that I can talk about. I know a lot of the guests that you have on the show are big in the supplement space and the fitness space, so definitely talk about that. That's where I focus a lot of my time as an entrepreneur on. But yeah, the lessons you learn, and one thing that I'm gonna be able to that you're going to hear me speak about a lot is like the lessons you learn from lifting and training and bodybuilding, or the lessons you learn in the supplement industry. The first time you take your first, protein powder and you go into a GNC, and the reaction you have to like a label, all that stuff is translated literally everywhere when you go in business, because at the end of the day in business is about like customer feedback, customer research, customer, being transparent, building trust. And those are things, the fundamentals that you can carry with you wherever you go. And you'll see a lot of really great athletes, especially in the bodybuilding space, end up becoming really solid entrepreneurs as well, because it really translates well, and there's a good marriage there, man. So I can definitely dive into that a little bit, but I'm all ears. And I said, man, there's no topics that's off bounds, man.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving me and the listeners your time. I know that when they hear your story, they're going to go after it. So, drop in the first question your way is, what is your why?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a difficult, sometimes even a loaded question, but I really like when I hear that question, I first think about like, what do I do in my day, like what gets me excited, what gets me to push, what gets me to do things, like why do I do the things I do. And I realize, like, really for me, man, it's this concept that there's always more, and there's more to be explored, and then there's something that you can do bigger or you can make it better. And there's like such a vast world outside of our own like little nest, and that we just still have to explore. And I think that's what makes like humans so incredible, right? There's a group of guys that, hey, we're in Europe right now, it's 1600 whatever, 1700, we're going to take a boat and go to a totally vast new continent, and we don't have no idea what's on there, we're just going to figure it out. And like that desire to like explore like the next level, I think that just like really excites me. And I have found that my medium for me has been business. I heard a gentleman once say that the last great adventure that we still have, in this day and age with technology and stuff, we're not going out there hunting and gathering, is entrepreneurship. It's the last real adventure that's kind of left for like, mankind to really explore and push the boundaries. And, there's arguments for it back and forth, but I really believe that, for me at least. So in my life, like, what is my why is really just like pushing the needle a little bit further and further. And with business, I realized, oh man, like I'm starting a business and I have, $100,000 in sales. What if I get it to 1 million? What if I never thought about like selling a business? What if I can just start buying a business? Right now I'm getting in the private equity space where we buy businesses, or we are taking businesses on the stock market. Like, what the hell is all that about? Like, there's this, it never ends, right? So we started off with like a few billionaires. Now we have a trillionaires that are, the kind of, that's the next going to be the next thing. Then there's, our billionaires are going to space, and like that's really cool. And I like that a lot, because it's always pushing, never being satisfied with like, hey, I'm happy, like I have a home, I have an awesome family, I have whatever, like that's awesome. But then you just want to push more, and that for me is there's nothing more exciting than that, man. Like any opportunity I get to push further, explore further, I'm there. So that's why my why, man. So
Sweet. Thank you for sharing that with me and the listeners. And that is a badass why on the real. Another quick question your way is, which has been your most profitable business venture?
Profitable. There's been quite a few, man. Like pure profit wise, those are sometimes like smaller businesses, like smaller supplement companies that you start because that you can turn out a profit pretty quickly. So right now, I've started my own about 28 companies, started my own. And then the rest of all the companies have been where I've gotten a little bit of later stage where like you're basically at a point where it's gotten some sales and it's kind of stuck. And I have actually, I would say like I like both, but lately, and when I go back and like, you know what, the businesses that are kind of stuck and like turning them around and getting to the next level, those have been the more profitable ones. So like I've done everything from the range of like a lot in the supplement space, a lot in the retail space, lately a lot in the Amazon space, and like really sold like you can, I mean, anything, man, from like sneakers to supplements to like women's gummies to like literally I will able to sell, and I don't say I can sell anything, but I'm able to understand business fundamentals behind it and understand, okay, the word is profit. And I also like that you said that because I want to quickly focus on that for people who are getting into business. Revenue is not the same as profit. And that's really, really, really important for people to recognize because I see these ads and like, hey, like I'm going to show you my like this. And we make $5 million a year, but I'm like, dude, what do you put in your pocket? Like what is in your pocket? Because the top line doesn't matter. What matters is the bottom line, and you can't show that on. People ask me all the time, Prady, show me your Amazon Seller Central account, show me your Shopify. I was like, dude, I can show it to you, but it doesn't tell you anything because I can show you, there's like accounts where I'm making whatever X amount, 10, 15 million, but the profit on there is like nothing. So it doesn't matter. So the big thing is there is also like, I'm happy that you said profit because I think you're one of the few people that has asked me that. Most people ask me, what's the biggest business you've had, but the biggest businesses aren't always the most profitable, right? And there's such a vast thing I can go into this because people ask, should I start supplements? I heard you can make a lot of money. I was like, no, your business can make a lot of money, but you might not make that money. So you have to really understand that. So where have I made the most profit? Honestly, man, it's on a cascade of selling all kinds of products. At the end of the day, though, it's probably real estate development. And that's like something I do. So one of the things I'm involved with is I started in the buy and hold game where I would basically buy property and I would rent it out to college students. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I spent probably 3 years like getting calls from people saying, hey, my toilet's broken. And I'm like, dude, I'm in college. I'm like 19, 20 years old. I was like, dude, I don't know like what to do. So I would go myself. So I'd literally fix people's toilets. And I did that for a while, man. And I started like fixing shit for people. And it would just like, but over time I realized like I would basically buy the property, do as much work as I could. And I'll explain a little bit how I actually was able to profit off of those. And I would keep renting them out. And I was very successful doing that. My broker, who was a young guy at the time, he said, Pretty, have you thought about developing? I was like, I don't know, man. I know like Trump does it. I heard some guys do it. What is developing? I don't know anything about it. He said, Pretty, don't worry. There's a playbook. I'll teach you. I was like, okay. So we start developing, and I don't even know what that is. And it's like basically you get a plot of land and you build apartment buildings, you build complexes, you do commercial stuff. Dude, it's way outside my comfort zone. I don't know any of that stuff, dude. I can buy a college apartment and like clean it up with like a broom and like fix the toilet, but like making a skyscraper, like I'm living in one right now, and I look at it, I'm like, man, like this has like 65 floors. How do people even make this shit? Like I have no idea. But I figured it out. And long story short, those are my most profitable ventures because you're able to really capitalize on those. But what's the story behind it? It's very capital intensive. So it's not like, anybody can start them. And I'll explain a little bit how I got into it more. But those have been my most profitable. So very long-winded answer, man. But you can make profit in many ways. When people ask that question, they usually mean, where did you make the most money and profit at the same time? It's got to be real estate development. Like that's been the game changer for me as far as like wealth accumulation. And then there's profits, right? Like I make like these PMS gummies that do really well. Like you make profit off of them. Like you might make 20%, 30% margin. You sell it for $25. After all the fees, you might make $14 or $13 or whatever, $10. But that's a big volume game. But for me, real estate development has really changed the game as far as like wealth accumulation, man. Long answer, but I hope it's helpful.
Well, I hope everyone at home wrote that down, wrote all the
Yeah.
nuggets that Prady was giving. So, next question that I'm going to drop is, what market or industry is your personal favorite to do business in?
Um, honestly, there's a couple. So favorite that I've done, that I've liked, where I've like really excelled,
Mhm.
has definitely been real estate, because real estate is something there's always, you always need shelter, and there's always a demand for it. There's other good thing about real estate, which is raising capital is quite, it's easier. It's not easy. It's easier because banks are literally willing to say, hey, you have this house, cool. We'll give you 80% of the total value. You just put 20% down or 25% down. We'll just give you 80% of all of it, which is hard. If I'm starting a supplement company, I can't just get 80% full funding. Like I need to put capital in. So real estate's always been something where I can be more creative, and it's also more daunting because like I'm going into that space, and as a, in the real estate developing, dude, I'm like 25, 26, 27, young guy doing it. And like, you're not as capitalized as the big boys doing real estate development. So it's a little intimidating. How do I even raise money? How do I go inside of a bank and say, hey, I need like 15 million bucks, like to start doing this? I have no, you really don't have any business doing it, at this, and basically how I am, where I'm from, and like stuff like that. So it was definitely very intimidating, but being able to do it and learn it made me feel really good and confident. And so that was like one of my, it really, what is still my favorite industry. But of course, my heart, I'm a bodybuilder. I used to compete. And
Yep.
so fitness and supplements is like always been my thing. Like, and I always go back to it. No matter if I take a break from like investing into supplement companies, that's still something that's like close to me. It's definitely very risky. There's now a lot more liability involved, and it's very risky. But there's two industries also. When people ask this question, they're kind of seeing, where should I invest my time? Like if I'm listening to this right now, what are the cool plays? One of the plays I always talk about recently that is really cool is grocery products, like
Mhm.
healthy groceries. For example, functional foods, protein bar, protein chips, like the healthy snacks, and like the kind of the basically the intertwining like foods and health supplements in one. Like the gummy market, protein bar, chips, like you see, like Quest Bar just got a $2 billion acquisition a few years ago. So that is really interesting to me because you're penetrating big distribution in with supplements, because it's hard to do that with like a pre-workout. A lot of people use pre-workout, but you know, a mom might not use it. Whereas chips or cereal or like gum or like those are like everybody could use that. So if you find a healthy alternative to it, I think it's really cool. So I think that's really good. I think grocery items are really interesting in my opinion. And then, obviously just general supplements, but I think supplements you need to be innovative now. And you can't, I think it's hard to just be like, make another line. You can make money with it. I don't know if you can make profit with it, a lot of it. So that's hard. So I would suggest like inventing a new category. That's something I'm really interested in. So when entrepreneurs come to me and say, hey, I have a new category, it's called, keto water. I'm like, what is that? So you take keto and you put it in water. That's interesting because now you're inventing a new category. A few years ago, there was like nighttime fat burners. That's a new category. It doesn't have to be something like, you don't have to be Elon Musk, like go to space. Just be creative with the category that you're creating. Because if you create the category, man, like it's it's game over. I was just listening to one of the guys who said he knows, he was a partner with the guy who invented frozen food. He was like, I want food, but I don't have time to cook it. So I invented food that you can freeze. It's a multi-billion dollar industry. That's interesting. So anything to do with mass distribution, that's a new category. That's exciting to me, man. And I hear pitches all day long. And that's like the fun part of what I do right now. Back in the day, I was scratching my head thinking what to do. Now on the other side, in the investment side, I get a lot of pitches sent to me, and I can kind of see, oh, that works, that would work, that wouldn't work, and be on the other side. So that's fun. But new category invention, that's the way to go, man. So
Okay. And then another quick question your way. I know that you talked about it earlier in regards to someone showing you the playbook for real estate development. Have you ever had a mentor?
yeah, I've had a group of, it has, yeah, I have had mentors for different parts of my life.
Mhm.
And I say this also, and I talked about this about a year or so ago. People want to have like a life coach. And I think that's hard because someone that I go to for like my relationship advice or a family advice is not the same person as like who I'm going to go to for help on my business or my funding. So sometimes people go wrong where they have like one mentor for everything in life. And I get that. That could be good. Maybe it's a parent or something, but I think that you're selling yourself short. I think it's helpful to have a group of mentors that are good and can mentor you in different parts of your life. So don't like go out there. So like I'm starting a business. Okay, I need other people who have done an exit before. Okay, so I'm having trouble with parenting. Let me talk to my buddy who's been a great parent, who's raised all these awesome children. So now you have different mentors in different parts. So that's what I've done. So I've had a lot of mentors, not just one, definitely. And I'm never afraid to ask for help, no matter what. Like I'll still ask for help on ecom. I'll still ask for help on like real estate all the time. Like I'll network with people. And I'm not shy to ask for help, and I'm not shy to also provide that value back in any way possible, because I really believe if you want to live a more efficient life, an effective life, you need to be able to leverage people. If you are not able to do that, you're going to get old and you're not going to be able, like what I can do in 2 years, it might take someone else or me, if I hadn't leveraged people, 15 years. And I'll give you an example, right? So I don't know how to develop anything. I've never gone to I'm not an architect. I don't know anything, man. I really don't. I don't. So what do I do now? So I tell my broker, kind of tell me the playbook. He's like, talk to this guy, talk to that guy. I'm like, okay. I basically go on LinkedIn. I reach out to everybody in Boston that I know that has something to do with real estate. And I partner with all those guys. So I partner with the lawyer, I partner with an engineer and an architect and a contractor. And I ask everybody for their referrals, and I build a huge team around me. And my team knows what they're doing. I don't have to know everything, but I know how to build my team around me. And all of a sudden, I'm a real estate developer. And we're making, 2 units, 4 units, 10 units, 20 units. We're building a whole complex now. I still don't know everything about architecture. I really don't, man. But now I know more than I did when I started, but I don't. But what I am really good at is that I'm able to leverage people, and I'm okay with also providing value in return. If I do everything by myself, can I make more money? Yeah. But is it going to take me 15 years? Hell yeah. Because that's the first thing I heard. I go to talk to, someone from the trade association. Like, oh, Prady, you should go to school for it. Go to school, become an architect, learn to trade, become an apprentice. And I'm like, oh, that's good. I totally understand that. But dude, that would have taken me I would still be in school by now because, I'm young. Right. I would still be in school. But instead of that, I hired and worked with people on my team who have already gone to school for all the 8-9 years. And I've hired 3 people like that. So I have 24 years of schooling now, because it doesn't matter if it comes from me or another person. If we're on the same team, the work is being contributed, right? So I basically went to school for 24 years now, although I didn't go to school, but my team did, right? So being able to leverage their skill set, their knowledge, and working together as a team, that's the way to go about it. And I think people are very has a lot of ego, but also really selfish about protecting. I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to have I want 100% control of this. And it's hard because scaling, power, and control, they're always honestly at odds with each other. So a lot of my ventures, man, sometimes I'll own 4%. I don't care, because that 4% of $100 million or $50 million is better than 99% of $1,000, And sometimes it's a matter of that, because I don't know everything and it takes me too long to learn it. So if I have other people who know what they're doing and I'm able to give them value in return, now we all grow fast. And that's been a big thing for my own personal success. And while able to do things quickly, people say, how do you start 27 business? How is that possible? I do one business for 4 years. And I was like, oh, because I have a little ownership here, I have a little ownership there. I have a team here and a team here. So I have so many people that I'm able to leverage, that I can be there. I can be at 5 places right now. Right now I'm talking to you, but I'm also at a job site because I have an awesome team that's there. So the work is always happening. But if I was super controlling, I'm I don't trust what you guys are doing. Sorry, Andrew, I can't do this right now. Now I'm going to drive all the way there, micromanage them. But now I'm missing out on an opportunity to talk to your audience, man. So I can talk to your audience. And yes, I'm giving away equity there, and I'm giving more money to my contractor, but I'm okay with that, because I'd rather do more volume than one thing that's just kind of small. And that's really important. That's a lesson I got. I was really into cars growing up. And when I was younger, my grandfather actually worked at a car dealership, and he used to, he was a janitor there. So he would scrub all the cars. And he's at night, he would go in there, and we would always look at all the nice cars. And I remember the owner there, and I asked him a question. I was like, what do these people do that buy these awesome cars, these Bentleys and stuff? He's like, all right, Prady, I'll explain to you. The people who buy the Bentleys, they have 8 to 10 sources of income. I was like, oh, that's crazy. And he's like, and there was a Bugatti there, and Bugatti's like $1 million car. And
Mhm.
he said the people who own the Bugattis, they have 36 streams of income. I was like, 36? Like, how's that even possible? Like, you work one job all your life. I had never heard of such a thing. So that really changed the way I thought about it. I was like, oh, but like, let me look at these multimillionaires and billionaires. How much do they own of all this stuff? And I was realized they have awesome teams. They're willing to raise a lot of money. They have a lot of people involved. Like, let's take, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Like, these guys don't own more than like 10% of their company. They own like 4, 5, 6, 7% because they realize that if they want to grow fast, they have to raise capital and give value to investors and go on the stock market and give money to or shares to the public. And the reason why I'm saying that, it sounds super intuitive. It's actually not. A lot of people that I meet, even I talk to through the supplement space and on my DMs, they're so afraid. They're so focused on like the little gains. Like, oh man, like, I lose $100 here, $200 there. Oh, my designer, I don't want to pay him like $75. I was like, dude, screw that.
Bro, that's so
Because when
dumb.
you're
That's
so,
so dumb.
yeah, because you're so focused on like the small picture, man, that
Hmm.
you can't focus on the $7 million because you're focused on $75 because your brain can only occupy so many thoughts at a time. So when you're pissed off at your buddy for not paying your coffee, whatever, just let it go. Like, focus on big picture. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that, man. But like that was really something that I learned. I was like, grow fast, scale quick, think bigger by leveraging people and being really good at networking because I don't have time to go to school
Hmm.
for everything, but I do have time to get coffee. I do have time to hit up my buddies for a Thanksgiving and Christmas and ask them how they're doing. I do have time to like wish them on their birthday. I do have time for those things. And like, if I can do that, that does more for me than like sometimes even going to school because, and I don't have anything in school because I went to law school. So I spent a lot of time in school and
Hmm.
grad school. But that has helped me a lot, man. And I still build those relationships, even in the supplement space, that's like been really important to me, man.
Okay. Well, I did meet you at the TNS Christmas party out
There
in
you go.
Denver. I'm not gonna lie, you and your team at Azoth were kicking ass at that event. Networking, just having fun. So I 100% believe that the people that you have around you are superstars, and you're killing it, my man, on the real.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, no, thanks. It's been always a thing that I try to instill in everybody, like just doing the small things like networking. And I had a thing also for a while where I read this actually in a book, so it's not my idea. I
Mhm.
forgot what the book is, but what the book was called, but it talked about the concept of never eating alone. And I did the same thing. I was like, man, because I'm having lunch, right? Like usually at my desk, and I'm sometimes like when I'm trying to de-stress, I watch some sports or I watch soccer or ESPN and I'm like, man, I'm kind of wasting time. Like I'm watching the news, Bloomberg or whatever. I could be eating with somebody else. So like literally, like I've been just hitting people up. It's like, hey, do you want to grab lunch? You want to grab lunch? So for a while, I would grab lunch with someone like 5 days a week. All because like it wasn't like quote unquote a waste of time because I would be eating anyways by myself. And yeah, those lunches were awesome. I like from those lunches, I've like co-invested with 3 people. I started a business with 2 people. I have done another venture raise with another, like random people that I never would have thought about. People, and you can do it with anybody, like buddies from school, like somebody you talk to on Instagram, like someone from the supplement Snoop group. I don't know, like just hitting them up and just ask them how they're doing. You can even do it over Zoom, like I don't know, grab a beer and be like, hey, what's going on? Let me just catch up for like 30 minutes. And there's a lot of good people in the space that do that. They hit me up like, hey man, how's it going? Let's catch up for a bit and be on the phone. And that stuff goes really far, man.
Dropping another quick question your way is regarding Azoth. What have you learned regarding the supplement space?
Oh yeah, a lot. so, so I think the first thing that I've learned is understanding, and this is somewhat I try to be a little animated so it's not too boring because business can be kind of dry, but unit economics are really important. And what I mean by unit economics is like what are you making consistently? And a lot of people in the space, because I'm actually lending money to a lot of the brands through my fund. I'm buying a lot of the businesses. The problem is that they don't make a lot of profit. And the reason they don't make a lot of profit is because they didn't think about it, or it just because there's so much emphasis on branding and design. And I love that stuff. There's some really awesome brands that their branding is just like impeccable. Like Ghost, for example, amazing brand. I love that brand. They're doing super well. But then there's also like a lot of like smaller brands and medium-sized brands that are barely making it. And I'll give people an example. Here's a product, a gummy product, right? Let's say I make it for $5. Okay, all in. Okay, which that's not the price, but let's say it's all in, and I sell it to you for 10. Now I made $5 profit. Okay.
Mhm.
But now the $5 that you give me, I have to reorder product again.
Mhm.
So now I make it again for five and I sell it again. Now I make the five. Now again, so my bank account is always at zero because
Yep.
the minute the money comes in, the cash is just leaving the bank all the time. So a lot of entrepreneurs in the space get stuck in the cycle where this becomes like a lifestyle business where they're barely making, like taking home like 30, 40, maybe less than that K, but they're killing it. They're selling thousands of units. So, and I think that that's a big issue because you never get out of that cycle, because that's a difference between me having a software where like I have an app, you join my app, like me and Justin do Supplement Snoop, and it's an amazing
Yep.
app. And no, like you get, if one person gets on the app and 10 people get on the app, our costs for the server are kind of the same, man. They're like whatever the server cost is, right?
Mhm.
But when you buy my product, I have to go to my manufacturer and order more product. And I can't just go to my manufacturer like, oh, here's $5. The manufacturer's like, okay, order 5,000 units right now. So,
Yep.
and now I'm 25 grand out. So cash flow is really difficult in this space, and it's very capital intensive. It's a very expensive um, endeavor, and you don't realize that because when you get into it, you're like, oh, I can go to a manufacturer, they make 100 units, $15 easy, slap a label, sell it. But then you start realizing, man, I'm not keeping anything in my pocket, and you get stuck in this cycle. So unless you are able to funnel capital and cash into your business, either being very strategic with how you spend your cash, or having some sort of investment or whatever you can put capital in, it's hard. And that's why like a lot of people come in for funding, because it's not the business is not growing, is because there's just they're out of all the capital because they're spending so much in ordering more and ordering more and
Mhm.
ordering more. Your first run is 1,000 units, $5 a product, 5 grand. Okay, now you sell all of it for $10 a piece. Now you made 10 grand back, but your next order isn't 1,000 units, it's 5,000 units, and now that's like $4. So now it's 20 grand, but you don't have 20 grand because the max you made was like 17 grand. Now where's the other 3 grand going to come from? Now you got to borrow more money and you can take it from your other accounts, and it becomes like this kind of weird scheme where you're borrowing money from yourself all the time and you're not paying yourself. And that's my thing as an entrepreneur. I always ask people, why'd you get in this space? And there's so many reasons. I want to do good, I want to provide value, and that's awesome. But I always tell people, and this is me and being more of a capitalist, right? If you everybody could do a job, like I could do a job right now because I went to school. I have value in the marketplace. Let's say I'm an attorney and I can make $100,000 a year. Okay, maybe that's my market value. If through my business, me personally, Prady Tewarie, in my bank account, I make less than $100,000 a year, then this business I have is just a hobby. It's
Mhm.
right. If I make $100,000 a year, then I just congrats, Prady. I just have a job now. Now my business as it is just a job because I make the same amount as I would if I worked a 9 to 5. Only if I make more money than I could working a 9 to 5 or whatever, only then am I an entrepreneur, because you're not providing enough value for yourself. And people will still say, well, it's still better to work for yourself. And I kind of agree, but I also disagree a little bit because the shit is hard.
Mhm.
When I work somewhere, I get like employment benefits, I get like medical insurance, whatever. I can take some vacation, like I can spend my Christmas with my family and stuff. So there's a lot of perks. And when I'm working for myself, man, I'm working way more hours. I'm not working.
Yep.
Very few entrepreneurs that like make significant amounts, like work 40 hours a week. So now, economically speaking, isn't it better to work 40 hours a week and make, 70,000 than to work 100 hours a week and make 74,000? So you have to make those decisions. So when I say that way, people, start thinking about, and I say that not to discourage people from being an entrepreneur, but because they need to focus on like, are they making profit, man? And if they're not making profit, then you're kind of stuck. And that's like one of the things that why I started randomly actually got into the space of like lending people money in the space, because I realized they need capital for working capital continues to grow. But then I also realized like some businesses actually don't have the ability to ever pay it back. They can't, because their pricing is at such a way where like they can never actually make enough money to pay back a loan and then also grow the company, right? Because if I'm saying I'm cheaper than BSN and Explode, my pre-workout, I'm like, okay, but you live in your mom's basement, are not paying yourself, have zero employees, are not paying any medical benefits. So yeah, you're $1 cheaper than BSN, but NO Explode is $30, and they have like a workforce of like 400 people, 10 corporate offices. Like
Yep.
every bottle that you sell has to pay for everything. Like this bottle has to sell has to cover office, rent, space, employment benefits, employees, like my employees' mortgages, like everything. So like you have to sell so much of this. Unless you have a big distribution play, it's hard, man, to really get to that level. So that's why, you see the companies that are really crushing it. Like, Ghost, for example, they have a good distribution. They're distributing widely. So it helps being profitable. Whereas when you're small, it's really hard to keep this going where it's profitable, where you can do it full time. So if you don't have big distribution, you can make this full time. That's like one thing I can tell people,
Okay. I'm going to drop another quick question your way is what is your opinion regarding having a controlled distribution channel through Amazon compared to
Yeah.
compared to other retailers such as PNC Vitamin Shop and independent supplement stores?
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. Obviously, like I'm a big fan of Amazon actually because I invested in it early. Like I was one of the
Ooh,
guys like
okay.
that can well, I not only well, yeah, in their stock and stuff, but apart from that, I
Mhm.
got into Amazon like 2013, 14, like before it was like literally, I mean, it was big at the time, but it was very different. And I started selling a bunch of stuff on there. Now, what's good about Amazon is that Amazon, the minute you're on Amazon, and it doesn't cost anything to be on Amazon, it's like $40 a month to sell on there. You in the first day, you have the ability to get 100 million plus people to see your listing on day one, right? So the most expensive thing for an entrepreneur when you're selling on your website is to get people to your store. You have to pay money for it. So when we sell supplements and it's like $30 or $20, whatever, to like, that's the price, and you're making like $10 a piece, if you're spending right now on Facebook ads, you probably have to spend like $7, $8, $9 or whatever just to like that. That's really, I think probably 20 or $30 to get a customer to actually buy from you. So you're not you're all spending all the money in just like customer acquisition. If you're selling a course, or I'm a Louis Vuitton and I have like a $4,000 bag, yeah, I can spend $400 a customer because I'm selling a $4,000 product. For our market, fast moving consumer good, where the margins are like $10, $9, $8, $12, we can't spend a lot of advertising, because if we spend a lot on advertising, we don't make any profit. So with Facebook ads, you probably need like a third or fourth time to customer to come back 3 to 4 times before you start making profit. So that game is hard when you have your own Shopify store, because you have to drive all that traffic. It works when you're an influencer because you get that traffic for free. You go on, you've built your audience, say, hey guys, I'm selling this. I'm Kylie Jenner. I'm selling this makeup line. Go on my website and buy. People like, fuck yeah, she has millions of followers. It works. If you're like let's say I started, no one knows who the hell I am. When I'm like 19 years old, I'm like, hey, I have this protein powder, Prady's protein. Like, no one's gonna come my site. I probably have to spend a shitload just to get someone on there, and I finally get a customer, and I pay $35 for the customer, and he never comes back because now he's buying Optimum. Okay, so with Amazon, the good thing is once you rank on Amazon on first page, it's just organic traffic already in because people are already on Amazon, and that's why that's what makes it awesome compared to like sometimes with like Shopify having your own website, because you don't have to pay for the traffic. Right now, for example, I have a bunch of listings on Amazon, a little bit over like 125 SKUs that I'm actively selling right now. I don't run ads for almost none of them. Like maybe for like 10 of them, maybe I have ads on. I have no ads, no advertising, zero. I don't even have an Instagram for it. Nothing, just nothing, because you get the reviews, people like the product, it's there on the first page, and basically you get recurring revenue. So that's really awesome. Now, as far as like distribution for GNC and Vitamin Shop, I think they're a great place. If you can get in there, you want to play the game with like slotting fees, and you can survive like basically the cash flow play. That's another thing. As like a lot of these big, it really depends on the relationship you have. If you're an average product that's getting into big box retail, they're going to charge you slotting fees, but they're also going to charge you, they're not going to pay you right away. So you sell product, like for example, in Walmart, I did a deal with them and they're like, okay, we want 5,000 of your widgets. I'm like, okay, cool. Here's my receipt. They're like, oh, no, we're not going to pay you. I was like, what do you mean? They basically pay you after they have sold the product 90 days later. So you're floating, you have basically just spent your whole earnings, like your whole savings, ordering 5 or 10,000 units, spending 30 grand. That's like maybe the savings somebody might have, and now they have to wait and they can't move now because they have the 30K locked in, and Walmart or whatever is not paying them. Whereas on Amazon, you get paid out every 2 weeks. So that helps a little bit with cash flow. So I really think it's in some products though, they need to be in big box retail. Energy drinks, consumable items that like perishable items. I think it's hard to sell them on like an e-com site because people need to see you physically. Gum, I don't know, cookie, crack, whatever, stuff like that. Like energy drinks are a great example, carbonated beverages.
Mhm.
People don't usually go on Amazon to buy those things. It's like, oh, I'm thirsty. Let me go to a store, pick up a drink and buy it. So it really also depends on the product, man.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me and the listeners. I know that anybody that's interested in starting a supplement line or starting a business, this is like gold. So thank you, man, on the real.
Sure.
And so you are currently rebranding Azoth, right?
Yes.
Okay. What market or customers are you looking to acquire?
Yeah. So there's a lot going on, and it's like a lot of confusion, and partially because there's so much going on. What we've actually done over the past, I'd say like 3-4 months, there's a lot of restructuring. There's
Mhm.
restructuring happening on our team, but I've also started to strategically acquire brands that are already out there that have distribution channels open, but also that have really cool ideas and products, putting them under the Azoth line. So I've tried different things. One idea was to keep them under Azoth and like having basically multiple SKUs. But lately, it's been just a little bit difficult because we have a group of customers that are like hard behind the get shit done, and then we're targeting a different consumer, which is like the more female, more pink, kind of approach, which is like a little different. So what we've decided to potentially do, we're going to build out a house of brands, which have different brands that are going to operate under one banner. So a couple of the brands that we're going after as far as like what we have underlying. So one of them is senior citizens. That's a huge market for supplements. I know people think it's very not very sexy, but like those people really need supplements for their health and wellness. Not everyone can afford insurance in this country, so they rely on OTC and like supplements to really make them feel better and help them with their health concerns. The other is a women's line. I think women are part of the supplement space big time, but there's not a lot of supplement brands that cater to them just directly to women. They have like a line where they have some women products. So that's one of the things, especially women are entering like the labor force and they're like working and they need meal replacement. They need something that they can use. They need GDAs. They need stuff like that can keep them going. They need protein bars. They need stuff that they can use. And that's not there yet or not developed enough yet, besides some influencer brands. And I'm also thinking about, we don't have this yet, but going after the pet market because pets, especially pet supplements. I'm a real estate developer, so I got to see like really cool trends that are happening. So, man, the last few condos I sold, like I'm built like one of the guys there's asking me for a bathtub and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Is that for your baby? Because usually people have babies and they want like a bathtub. And he's like, oh no, that's for my dog. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I do one. So this is like my 17th condo I've built, and people are call themselves like dog mom and dog that whatever, and that's cool because people are really close to their pets, especially like during the pandemic, and not everybody wants to have children right now, like, and so a lot of people are opting to have pets as a good companion, and so the pet market is growing rapidly. So this is a little tip for anybody that's not thinking about like pet products. You're going to see a lot of them, and yeah, you should buy some stock in the pet space because yeah, it's gonna explode. Like I see it already in the big metropolitan areas I'm developing right now in Boston, Miami, and New York. And yeah, the amount of requests we get is very significant for like doing things for pets in the building. The high rise I live right now just took out their children's, like to have a activity room for kids, and because there's no kids, but they made one for dogs. And I was like, that's great because it's just the market. So definitely thinking about the pet line as well.
Okay, that's awesome. And dropping another quick question your way is the Enlightened Millennial and the Truth Bomb podcast
Yep.
are two podcasts that you host, and they're badass. So when are the next episodes or season coming out for those two?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. Some people have been asking me about it. Yeah, I think with the Enlightened Millennial, I think a big thing is, and you're a good testament to when you're kind of running it by yourself, it's really good because you kind of have like, sometimes you have like your own kind of schedule and like you can kind of fit around. It's harder when you're running it with two people
Mhm.
because, or three people at some points. So it's a little rougher. So a lot of it has been like scheduling conflicts and just being on the same page as far as like what we want to accomplish. When you're creating like content for people who want to start a podcast or a blog or so, I think it's really also important to know like what's the purpose of it. Are you doing personal branding? Are you trying to sell your products, or are you trying to monetize it by having advertising? So I think it's really good to have that conversation with yourself or your partner for like what is the goal of it, because if both people have different goals, it can be a little bit difficult. For example, I
Mhm.
might be saying, and this is not the case, but let's say I sell, I don't know, whatever, some supplement. I'm like, I want to start a podcast where I can actually promote my product, where I can talk about health and keep pushing my products. And then my partner might be like, no, man, I started a podcast so I can do personal branding, or I can talk about my name. I want to talk about Prady and all the cool things he's doing. Now you're going to have conflict. So I think it's really important to understand why you're making content, because people get really disappointed, man. Like I built up this whole TikTok or Instagram audience and it's not doing anything. I was like, what did you want it to do? Like, well, I thought I could sell some product. I was like, but you never products on there. Like that's not what it's about. You make funny videos about like, you like pranking people in supermarket stores, grocery stores. Like, why would someone buy your protein powder? Like, it makes no sense, right? And it's so intuitive that people, they think that because you have a big audience, you can give them anything. But what is it? Why are you building your audience? Like, what are you providing them? That's what you can give them, right? So if people follow you because, for example, you post some really cool photos and motivational stuff, around training and stuff. So that might be what your audience is all about, because that's why they're following you. If all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm selling women's shoes right now, your audience, you could have 1 million followers. They'd be like, what are you talking about? It makes no sense. So now this is not necessarily what was happening in the background, but I think there were some conversations where like we just want to realign where everything is where everything's going. A big thing though, to be between you and I turned 30, and that changed a lot for me,
30?
because when I turned 30, I was like, I want to really like rethink what I'm doing, and
Mhm.
I want to do everything better. And I want to redo the. I told my partners both that like the Truth Bomb and Enlightenment, let's do this better. I need to sit back and just like think about what I'm doing, what kind of content I'm putting out, and also like what the purpose of everything is. So a lot of it has been just been introspection since I turned 30. That's why I made some changes at Azoth, restructuring and starting to think a little bit different. So I don't know what the answer to that is going to be. I hope it does come back soon. And I hope that I can make some more content for people, because that's something that I always want to do. But yeah, man, I'm a little bit it's strange because I like to speak, as everybody can notice from this podcast, but I'm also a very reserved person at the same time. So I'm not someone who's like, always clicking photos or going out there in the gym and taking video. It's just really not my thing. I was like always more reserved. I didn't have social media up until like 3-4 years ago. I had no social. I didn't in college. I had no social media. I never had one. So it's still something I'm getting more like, maybe I should do more of it. But I'm like, if it doesn't provide value to why my audience is following it, I don't really share it. Like, I don't think if someone gets anything about seeing what I'm eating, or if I'm eating a piece of cake, I don't know if it provides any value to me taking a photo of it. But if I can give value, I do my Q&As. I still do them now and then. I started bringing them back a little bit, and I get a lot of questions from people. So sometimes it's like, shit, I got to put a Q&A because it makes it easier. So it's going to come back at some point, but I still do the Q&As. And that's kind of a little glimpse of some stuff that I was getting on the EM and the Truth Bomb. So
Well, certainly, please keep on doing your questions and your DMs, because the way how you answer your Q and A's is just savage as fuck and so true. So please keep on doing that, because it's sick in regards to like the insight on how you provide for business or daily life. And then I think one of the questions was like, I'm making X amount of money, and you were like, that's not a business, that's a hobby. You're basically
yeah,
just paying yourself a 9 to 5 salary. So your
yeah.
business is paying enough just for you. You would not have an employees, you would not have an office, you would not have this. So do something else. Boom. And I would literally, once I saw that, I was like, savage. Uh,
Yeah, I know. It's happening like and it's like sometimes you say some savage shit on Instagram because like it's cool and it sounds good. That's not my intention ever. I actually, really it's about having as a man, like whatever, one man, and I can only speak as being a man. Like, you want to have like real conversations with yourself, and like just holding yourself some like accountable. Like, what the hell am I doing? Like, am I really making progress? And I always tell people, not all movement is progress. That's a quote I always say, because movement is backwards, sideways, and going forward.
mm,
Movement, it can go all directions. So I always, and that's the reason why I like took a step back from my podcasting too, because I'm trying to figure out. I have honest conversations. Am I really do like making real progress right now? Like, what is it am I doing? And I think if you have honest conversations like with yourself, not just like on Instagram, like ask those questions yourself. Am I really, is this job, whatever I'm doing, really like honestly, is this really doing anything? Is this really getting me closer to my goal? Is this person I'm spending all my time with like really like what I had hoped for, what I dreamt about? Is this place where I'm living really like the place of my dreams, or am I just like convincing myself? Because we as humans, man, we're
Mm-hmm.
so good at confirmation bias where we're just like convince ourselves whatever we want to believe, right? Like if I don't go to the gym, I might be like, oh man, yeah, it's fine. I have a little knee sprain, or like I'm tired anyways. I'm jet lagged from a trip, so like I don't have to be on my meal plan today. And your brain will convince you of that, and it's very dangerous because the brain can convince you of anything, like literally anything. So we have what I call it cognitive dissonance. So you can be convinced of anything. You can be convinced that what you're doing right now is the best thing in the world. It's getting you to the next level. But unless you have somebody like saying, fuck, actually, no, man, it's not. It can be like a slippery slope. So if you don't always can cultivate that, try to be around people who like give you like sometimes a dose of reality, but you got to be careful because sometimes those people are just negative people that are just telling you all the time like what you're doing is bullshit, and it might not be. So just you have to find the right the right mentors and people who can be, who have your best interest. But yeah, man, that's the goal of doing all this stuff, is just give a reality check, because I do that to myself all the time.
Well, Brady, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on Content Inspire, sharing your story, your experience. Thank you, honestly, my man. And is there anything that you'd like to say to the listeners before we head off?
No, I think the big thing, man. First of all, like appreciate you having me on there, man. Again, it's always a privilege to be able to speak to your audience and doing this for my first time at your show. I think what I want to leave people with is like learn to think bigger. Like society and everything will just kind of trap you around where you're born, what your parents were doing, like your neighborhood, your environment. And that's what's going to feel super comfortable. And anytime you step out of that is going to make you feel super anxious. And in our society, especially in the US, we think anxiety is a bad thing because like, oh man, I'm so anxious. It's like a disease. Anxiety is not bad. Anxiety is normal. Like anxiety tells you when something is dangerous, when something is bad. So it's a good thing. Embrace it. But anxiety also it means that you're doing something that's not comfortable. So like I feel good when I feel a little anxious because it means that, hey, maybe this is bad for me. So I need to like watch out. Or it could also be I'm doing something that like, I'm not supposed to do. Like, when you're like going, it's like late at night and you're like 7 years old and you're like trying to go to your neighbor's house and see what's in there because like a creepy place, and you're like, what the fuck is in there? Let me go with my friends. And your parents like, don't go there. But you still go there because, and you feel anxious when you go in there because it's outside your comfort. You're not supposed to do it. Sometimes the stuff that you're not quote unquote supposed to do, your brain will tell you, don't go, don't do that. Don't, yeah, Prady, like, dude, you don't have no business, like, raising $50 million or like selling your company for. I asked some obscene amounts. Like, if I was like, I saw a business for 50, 75 million. What the fuck? I have no business doing that because my grandfather was a janitor. I should not do this shit. It's not for me. And your brain will keep telling you that. And everybody thinks, oh, you're so confident. It's not true. I have the same things. First few times I'm doing that, I feel weird, man. I feel weird having a nice car. I feel really weird about it. The first time I drove it, I stopped the car and I felt that I shouldn't be driving it. It's not for me. And I really felt that. I felt like, fuck, what am I doing? I shouldn't be doing this shit. It's bad. And it's not bad. And you have to tell yourself, no, you deserve it. And you have to be able to get out of your comfort zone and really push. And once you just get over that anxiety, you're gonna feel like a fucking king. It's a testosterone rush, man, because you're like, oh shit, I can do that stuff. And but we don't think bigger. I still have conversations with friends who are like sometimes, from whatever high school and stuff, and they're still having conversations around like, oh man, this buddy, yeah, when he bummed like $45 off of me and he's still worried about that. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Who cares about that? So like they're not thinking bigger. So think bigger. Think about bringing your business to Wall Street, like having an IPO. Think about like getting to making more money than Jeff Bezos. Like think about being the number one bodybuilder. Think about winning the Mr. Olympia and whatever it is, whatever in your field, like whatever your field is, think big. And it's gonna feel weird. I speak from experience, and I feel really anxious about it. And everybody thinks that you're gonna be this James Bond character who's like super alpha, like savage. No, you might be total fucking emotional wreck. Who gives a fuck? Like it's fine. You just get over it. And you don't have to tell anybody else about it. The first time I sold my company, I was a fucking wreck. I was like, what the fuck? I don't know any of this stuff. I feel so out of place because all these guys, they're super old. And I'm like, man, I'm like 19 years old. I don't understand any of this shit. I shouldn't be here. It doesn't matter. I just stuck with it. And at some point I was like, no, I deserve to be on this table, and I built this business and I fucking crushed it. And it doesn't, yeah, I did it in 2 years. What it takes most people to do is 50. I don't care. I deserve to be here because I work my ass off. And having that attitude where you not demand things from other people though. No, be entitled, demand things from yourself. So I don't feel entitled about other people giving me shit. I feel that I need to give myself more shit. So once you start doing that, I demand a lot for myself. I don't demand it from my dad or my mom or from my partner or whatever. Like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. Like, that's bullshit. Demand a lot, like greatness. Like when you go to a restaurant, see people like clicking their fingers at the waiter, do this, do that. Do that to yourself. Be like, hey, Prady, can you not like sleep 9 hours today? Can you wake up at 5 today and fucking do like 8 hours of work? Because you would ask that to your employee. I see people hit up their employees. Can you work today weekends? Sure, ask that to your employee, but also demand that from yourself. And I think that's a big thing. And the one message I always want to give is just like think bigger. And when people speak to me, sometimes like, oh man, I never thought about doing that kind of stuff. And I like that because if I can unlock that little thing in people's brains where they can think a little bigger, sky's the limit, man. So that's my big message. Think big.
Well, listeners, you heard it. Think big, go after it. Prady, thank you so much for being on Content Inspire. I'm going to put everything in the bio down below, your Instagram, the 2 podcasts, you name it, so that people can find you. And thank you so much. And listeners, till next time.
Thank you, Andrew.